Many thanks for making a date on the marketplace today. Welcome back. Now, some of the major mining firms in the country risk losing their operating licenses. It follows revelations that some of them are operating in the country without parliamentary approval of their mining leases, even though they have secured all the necessary permits. Dr. Tony Obin is a former Minerals Commission boss and founder of the think tank African Institute for Extractive Industries.
Technically speaking, our constitution, I'm not sure which article specifically, but I think it should be 268, enjoins mining lease holders to ratify. It's a requirement of our constitution that for a mining lease to be wholesome, so to speak, it has to be ratified by Parliament. So in a very simple way, that's the requirement of the law. So the 35 companies or leases that have not been ratified, if there's some work being done on them, then there should be a problem, because if the lease has not been ratified, then you may not have to work on them. However, it is also possible that these leases have been granted, because leases are just pieces of land demarcated and granted as mining lease for a mining company or for an individual. You may not have started work on that. And so it is possible that you have your lease, you haven't done anything on the lease, so you wouldn't have committed any crime. I know some companies that have their leases ratified, but they are not working on them. So for them, they have the lease, it's been ratified, no work is going on anyway. So it's a little bit complex, but we should allow the court to decide what the situation is.
But you being there as a former person in the commission and also being in this industry, I mean, you've seen the names. We are not going to mention it because it's a legal thing. It is for you, having seen the document, it's something that, yes, George, there's some element of truth in this case for it even to go to court for an action to be taken on it.
Well, the leases, there's a difference between the companies and the leases. The leases are the pieces of land, the grounds that have been granted. So if the companies are working on those grounds whilst it has not been ratified, then they would have committed an offense against the Constitution. And so the Supreme Court, as the case has been launched, would have to determine whether that is the case. But if they've been granted the lease, they haven't done anything, they are waiting, because the records will be there, they will have the lease document and all that, and they are not working on them. You cannot say that they have breached the law. That's why the Supreme Court is very important in this situation. So to mention a company's name, Company A, to have breached a law or breached the ratification requirement, there's the need for the lease area to have been worked on, or there's some activity going on over there, in which case you have not been ratified. But there's a requirement, it's a primary requirement that your lease must be ratified before you take action on that. When I was at the commission, in fact, one of the things we observed was that, and even before then, because I used to be at the Chamber of Mines, there were issues of application for ratification that had been there for 9 years. So if you're a businessman, if you're a miner, a mining company, you need a piece of ground to work on. You have applied for ratification, and it took 9 years for that ratification to be granted. I mean, your plans, where you borrowed your money, the interest and all that, it will not be pro-business, so to speak. So much as we should not offend the law, any mining company should not break the country's law, I think the pragmatism must reign. Reality must reign. I saw people applying for ratification. The thing went to the minister, a new policy or new interpretation of the process came up. Instead of moving from the ministry directly to Parliament, now a new interpretation came that it has to be approved by cabinet. The debate was that once the minister, who is a cabinet minister, has approved of it, there was no need to go back to Parliament.
Former second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, says it was difficult to shut down the operations of embattled gold dealership firm Menzgold immediately. According to Dr. Esiama, the central bank could not have shut down operations of Menzgold instantly due to how it had been structured. He spoke on Upfront hosted by Raymond Akwa, where he defends the Bank of Ghana's inability to close the operations of Menzgold.
When I got to office, that was when I think it was the DKM issue, was very strong. And I was involved in the resolution of the DKM, crisis, etc. And so later on, when the Menzgold issue also popped up, naturally I took an interest. At the time, they were not licensed by us, so we were not regulating them per se.
Okay.
They were not a reporting institution, and so they were not sending us any information on anything.
Okay.
But then I got to know about all the engagement that Bank of Ghana had with them since 2014, and at that time their scale of operations were quite small. It wasn't as we have currently.
As your memo has indicated, as part of WACA 2014, they were operating only in Kaswa.
Exactly.
Yes.
The scale was rather small.
Okay.
And the issues were complex because they were supposed to be engaged in some other activity that was licensed, per se.
Okay.
And don't forget, the structure was such that Menzgold wasn't taking money from anybody directly.
Mm-hmm.
What they explained they were doing was that there was a sister company called Brew Marketing that was selling those gold collectibles to people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, you go to put money there and then they give you a receipt, like typical deposit mobilization.
Yeah,
no,
true.
This was like you are purchasing gold. And then this is what they told me when I inquired. So it wasn't exactly structured like a direct deposit taking, activity. So when I got in, I took interest. Because if they had been licensed, it would have been one of the departments under me that would be regulating them. It's called the OFSD.
The other financial institutions.
Exactly. They would have been handling them. But because we hadn't licensed them, so that wasn't happening. Now, you remember I went to PAC. Mm-hmm. I went to Parliament. There was a time we had Public Accounts Committee, to discuss certain issues that related to our 2016 accounts. And that was really where I made that public statement to the effect that Menzgold had not been licensed by us, and I did not expect people, to deal with them.
Now, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has revoked the operating license of freight forwarding firm Fantiga Company Limited. This follows an investigation by the GRA, which revealed that the company falsified documents at the port of loading from India to China, leading to undervaluation, causing loss of revenue to the state. Ebenezer Sabuti has more in this report.
In a circular issued in the dailies, the Ghana Revenue Authority indicated it has banned Vida Diganus, a freelance clearing agent, and Ni Ajay Soa, an employee of Fantiga Company Limited, for allegedly facilitating the deal which led to undervaluation at the Tema port. According to the GRA, the aforementioned persons will not be allowed to enter any customs facility at the port or transact business with the division. The GRA has also warned that its members who engage themselves in similar dealings will be dealt with accordingly. Let's hear from the Commissioner of the Customs, Isaac Krenzel.
The special prosecutor is about to start his work. And definitely when we find out that we and the freight forwarder and of course the transistor will hand over to the special prosecutor. We want them, and I'm going to ensure that these things are carried forward.
The Commissioner is carrying out investigations on some other firms for onward prosecution. Ebenezer Sabuti's report for Joy Business.
It's live on the marketplace. Let's move on to one of our top stories today. And Managing Director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, John Dechem Atifua, has been relieved of his position with immediate effect. Sources say his sack letter dated 16th January 2019 was signed by the Aviation Minister Joseph Kofi Adda and addressed to the board chairman. Mr. John Dechem Atifua has been directed to hand over to his deputy, Yao Kwakwa, who is expected to act until a substantive appointment of a new managing director is made by government. Sheila Tamaklu has more on this development.
The Deputy Managing Director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited is set to take over as the new acting Managing Director of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, following a request by the Ministry of Aviation to have the current MD, John Dechem Atefa, replaced. Kofi Ada is the Minister for Aviation, and he explains more.
Instructions have gone to the board for replacement of the Managing Director of the Ghana Airport Company. That has been done or has been done by the Ghana Airports Company Board. And that's the process we've gone through. So replacement is going to be announced very soon on that front.
Okay. And what about the board? Is the board still intact, or that also has been dissolved?
I will not comment on that for now. Let's wait till we hear from them.
But what about the replacement? Do we have someone yet?
Well, for now, the acting MD is the Deputy Managing Director. He's going to be acting until the substantive MD has been appointed. The discretion of the President. This appointment is based on what he sees fit for the nation. And I can be here, I can be out any moment. So that's left to the President to decide.
So as the story unfolds, we hope to keep you updated on what becomes of the board. Reporting for Joy Business, my name is Sheila Tamaklu.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Aviation is hinting of acquiring aircraft from Canadian aircraft manufacturer Bombardier to furnish the fleet for the nation's home-based carrier. Minister for Aviation Kofi Ada disclosed this after the Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana paid him a courtesy call in his office.
Canada has a good track record and history of doing well in the aviation sector, particularly in the manufacturing of aircraft in the Bombardier plant in Toronto. That's why we're thinking we can acquire some aircraft to add on to the fleet of the home-based carrier that we're going to bring about very soon. They also have some potential credit facilities, such as export credit, that it could make available to us to be able to acquire the aircraft. And so in conferring with her, we're discussing those potential areas for collaboration. Would we get aircraft from Canada, from the Bombardier plant? What type of aircraft? What would it take for us to be able to acquire those aircraft? Will it require credit facilities, relatively soft commercial loans? What we're going to be able to bring about to complement that contribution, and so on and so forth.
On his part, Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana said they are willing to support in other services aside aircraft acquisition.
Well, aviation is an important sector in Canada, and it's a very important sector for Ghana's economic development as well. And we're very pleased already that we have Canadian Bombardier planes flying here in Ghana. Lots of potential for growth, including for Ghana's own airline. But beyond just the aircrafts itself, there's other strategies, including through data collection, through training, other services where we think that Canadian companies and our two governments working together can help to develop the aviation sector here in Ghana for mutual benefit.
Away from aviation now, the Ghana Association of Energy Economics is advising utility consumers to resort to energy-efficient equipment in the face of unstable prices. This comes in the wake of the conversation over possible increases in utility tariffs by power producers. President of the association, Sapon Kumankuma, says consumers must brace up for inevitable tariff increases. He was speaking at the capacity building workshop for stakeholders on renewable energy. Prince Apia has more.
Members of the Ghana Association of Energy Economics and other stakeholders are attending a 4-day trainer of trainers workshop to build capacity in renewable energy and energy efficiency. It is focusing on increasing awareness and enhancing adoption of energy-efficient technologies in Ghana. In the wake of the conversation of the hikes in utility tariffs, the association believes consumers must resort to energy-efficient equipment in the face of the unstable prices. Sapon Kumakuma is president of the association.
But that's where energy efficiency also becomes a factor. We should rather look at how best we can minimize our consumption, how best we can use equipment and machines that consumes less. So once we're able to use some of these equipment, we're able to reduce our consumption. And so whether the usual price goes up or not, at least we are less affected because we are more efficient in our energy consumption. And so there's a tendency that there will be a power increase, but the best way out is that let's be conscious about our consumption.
According to him, the workshop will increase awareness and enhance adoption of energy-efficient technologies in Ghana.
Okay, basically the focus of this training is to train trainers, that people will be ambassadors of the association who go out there to their various regions. In fact, we have members coming from the various regions, the 10 regions that we have, and they are basically supposed to go and sell the idea of energy efficiency and renewable energy to their other members in their various regions.
Prince Apia, reporting.
You're live on the marketplace now. It's now time to get to the market, the stock market, of course, to do some analysis. And it's 18 days into the new year. We want to take a look at how this performance of the stock market is like and how the Ghana Stock Exchange opened the year for trading. Joining me via Skype now for that analysis, we have the head of research at Databank, Alex Boahen. Alex, good afternoon. Welcome to the market, please.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Now, so how did the year open for trading and how have the various equities been faring till now?
Oh, well, broadly speaking, if you compare the performance of this year to last, I think the performance has been sluggish this year. If you look at the broad market indicators, such as the GS index and also the financial sort, all have been flat so far compared to last year. Last year, by this time, it has done just about 10%. Yes, but as we speak now, it's just at even in terms of trading, if you look at volume of shares that were traded last year, same time, has also dropped compared to this year. But we are seeing some encouraging signs from some specific companies, especially those who lost value last year. We've seen that some of them are recovering some of the losses that they posted last year. So, in a nutshell, what I would say is the market has been sluggish, but we are seeing some encouraging signs going into 2018.
Now, I believe it's early days to make a fair assessment of this sluggish performance, but what do you think, in your estimation, could be the cause for this current development?
Well, I overhang from a market last year. There was sort of a spillover of the poor market sentiment, banking sentiment in the other sectors. So, for me, I think generally it's a spillover of the banking sector sentiment. But as banks are, the capitalization exercise is nearly done, so we expect confidence in the market to return.
So do we expect any increase in capitalization of the market, let's say in the first quarter of the year? Do you expect anything like that?
Well, it's a bit hazy because we don't really see a clear pipeline of transactions that is coming to the market. Last year, the market was to some extent inundated with activities or capital raising activities. We are not likely to see that this year. So return basically will be driven by increases in share prices.
All right, now let's look at the financial equities, especially when some struggling banks late last year tried to seek or resorted to the stock market to raise some capital. Has it had any impact on the financial equities on the market?
Yeah, sure. For instance, if you look at the companies that were listed, the banks that are listed, like SG, Calban, these companies, some of them came to raise more capital. Some of them also converted their retained earnings into equity, shareholders' equity. So that actually prop up their capital base. And those who conducted rights issue also increased their capitalization. So in a nutshell, capitalization actually went up last year due to this capital raising exercise in the sector.
So, beyond this exercise, I mean, now that it's over, do we expect any more financial institutions to list on the market?
Well, not certain, yes, but I mean, SEC is also some regulations to get, especially in rates market. So maybe we may see a couple of listings, but for now, there's clear pipeline transaction.
All right, now let's look at delisting. From late last year, we've seen a couple of delisting and threats to some companies which did not put their books right to be removed from the market. Would this, or is this having any impact on the performance of the market? Some believe that it's kind of a regulatory approach, so it's normal. Others think that we shouldn't do that because it's still a fairly new market. What's your view on that?
Certainly no. In as much as we encourage companies to stay on the market, the SEC must also be careful and apply the regulations, because coming to the market to raise money as a company also comes with some responsibility. So if you fail to adhere to those listing requirements or continual listing requirements, I think it's a right for SEC to take actions. Otherwise, it can affect the market as a whole in terms of its credibility.
Now, Alex, let's look at the commodities and the currency markets as well. You know, the CD-dollar relationship plus other international trading currencies. Looking at the trend, has it started well enough for the year?
Well, the dollar, I mean, the CD has started the year a bit shaky, but I mean, it's not really bad. I mean, on a year-to-date basis, in terms of depreciation, if you look at the interbank exchange rate, it's just marginal. If you look at the euro and the pound, it has been quite stable. But I mean, normally in the first quarter, such movement is because the CD tends to record some depreciation, especially in the first quarter.
All right, now
typically.
Okay. Now, let's look at this report which just came out this morning, that the London Stock Exchange has recognized some companies, some distinguished companies in Africa. And in Ghana, Springfield is one of the companies that has been, recognized by the London Stock Exchange, and for that matter, listed on the stock exchange. Before then, we had Quantum Group of companies. Now, with this situation, how would you assess, its impact on the local markets?
Oh, well, I'm not sure about the impact on the stock market. I mean, once a company is able to get onto the London Stock Exchange, that is a big leap, because it gives you some kind of global positioning in the industry that belongs. Also, it's also opened up to a big pool of funds that the company actually tap into to drive its growth. So if you compare that to Ghana, Quantum Energy will actually have access to a larger pool, I mean, by listing on the stock exchange to tap into it for its growth.
All right, many thanks for your time. Alex Boahen is head of research at Databank. He's been telling us about the performance of the stock market. Let's end the show with an international business news. And Nissan, international car makers Nissan and Mitsubishi say former chairman Carlos Ghosn received improper payments totaling 7.8 million euros from a joint venture between the two firms. We sincerely apologize we were unable to bring you that particular story, but we'll certainly bring you some international news updates in Business Live. And on that note, to wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace, my name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We have a good afternoon.